So there I was, Jake Morrison, minding my own business on construction site Omega, when this 7-foot-tall purple alien comes sprinting through my work zone like her tail's on fire. Now I've been a foreman for 23 years, and I've seen some weird stuff out here in the void, but this lady takes the cake. She's got these flowing robes that would make a space princess jealous, skin that shimmers like she's been dipped in grape-flavored glitter, and 4 arms that are all waving around like she's conducting the galaxy's most panicked orchestra. But what really catches my attention is the little green thing she's carrying. At first glance, I think it's some kind of space cat. Then it turns its head, and I see the cutest little dragon face you ever did see. Big golden eyes, tiny horns, and scales that sparkle like emeralds. The thing's maybe the size of a house cat, making these soft chirping sounds that would melt your heart if you weren't busy wondering why it's being carried through an active construction zone. Human Foreman, the purple lady shouts, her voice all melodic and desperate. I beseech thee for aid most urgent. I set down my plasma torch and pull off my safety helmet. Lady, this is a hard hat area, and unless you're here to discuss structural integrity of Deck 7, you're in the wrong place. She rushes up to me, and I can see the panic in her big violet eyes. Please, good sir, my youngling has not consumed sustenance in 2 rotations. The Vorthak elders say only human nourishment can satisfy a dragon child, but I know not how to procure such provisions. I blink at her. Then I look at the little dragon, who's now staring at me, with those golden eyes like I'm the answer to all of life's problems. Hold up, you're telling me that little guy there needs human food, and you came to a construction site to find some? Indeed. The archives speak of human generosity and problem-solving prowess that surpasses all known species. Surely you can aid a desperate mother. The dragon lets out a tiny roar that sounds more like a kitten sneezing, and I swear my heart skips a beat. But then my brain kicks in, and I realize what she's actually asking. Ma'am, with all due respect, I build things. Big things. Out of metal and plasma conduits. I don't run a daycare, and I definitely don't run a restaurant. I gesture around at the half-built space platform. This look like a place that serves lunch to you. Her face crumples, and those 4 arms start ringing together. But the little one grows weak. And when a Vorthak dragon youngling grows too hungry, it begins to consume whatever is nearest. The metal of ships, the hulls of stations, the very walls themselves. I look at the construction around us. Billions of credits worth of materials and equipment. Then I look back at the tiny dragon, who's now eyeing one of my steel support beams, with what I can only describe as culinary interest. You're telling me this little guy will eat through my construction site if he doesn't get fed? With great efficiency and thoroughness. Yes. The dragon makes another tiny roar, and starts reaching one little clawed paw toward the nearest beam. A small wisp of smoke curls from its nostrils. I sigh, the kind of sigh that comes from deep in your soul, the kind that says your simple Tuesday just became infinitely more complicated. All right, purple lady, what's your name, and what exactly does this little guy eat? Her face lights up like I just offered to rebuild her entire homeworld. I am Zara of the Vorthak, and this is my precious Pip. The ancient texts say human food possesses some quality that satisfies dragon hunger, like nothing else in the known galaxy. Human food. I scratch my head, like a sandwich, pizza. What are we talking here? I know not. The texts are most vague on specifics. Pip chirps again, and successfully singes a small mark on my support beam. A very expensive support beam, that's part of a very important space station that I really don't want to explain to the bosses got eaten by a baby dragon. Right. I grab my comm unit. Murphy, bring the lunch cooler over to Sector 7. And Murphy, bring everything we got. Murphy shows up 3 minutes later with our cooler, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else in the galaxy. Now Murphy's this perpetually grumpy guy who's convinced that every day's gonna be his last, which makes him surprisingly good at construction work. Safety first and all that. Boss, please tell me we're not about to feed our lunch to some alien's pet, Murphy says, setting down the cooler with all the enthusiasm of a man attending his own funeral. Murphy, meet Zara and Pip. Pip's a baby dragon who apparently needs human food, or he's gonna eat our entire construction site. Murphy looks at Pip, who's now the size of a small dog and still growing. Course he is. Why wouldn't Tuesday turn into dragon sitting duty? That's when my assistant Blix comes bouncing over. Blix is this 3-foot-tall orange alien, who looks like someone crossed a teddy bear with a traffic cone. He's got more enthusiasm than a pack of puppies and about half the attention span. Oh my stellar formations, is that a genuine Vorthak dragon child? How magnificent. How extraordinary. I have read 17 research papers on their dietary requirements and metabolic processes. Great Blix. What do they eat? Well, according to the most recent studies, nobody knows. The feeding of dragon younglings has been an unsolved mystery for over 3,000 years. I stare at him. So your 17 research papers were basically 17 different ways of saying we have no clue. Precisely. Is that not fascinating? Meanwhile, Pip has spotted our lunch cooler and is making little excited chirping sounds. His golden eyes are locked on that cooler like it contains the secrets of the universe. Alright, let's start simple. I open the cooler and pull out a ham sandwich. Here, little guy, try some Earth cuisine. I hold out the sandwich, and Pip looks at it for exactly half a second before his mouth opens wide enough to swallow a softball. The entire sandwich disappears in one gulp, followed by what I can only describe as a satisfied little burp that comes out as a puff of smoke. Well, that worked, I say. Then Pip looks at me expectantly and chirps again. Only now he's noticeably bigger. Like noticeably bigger. He's gone from house cat size to small dog size in the time it took him to eat one sandwich. Zara? Is he supposed to grow that fast? Zara claps her 4 hands together in delight. Oh yes. Dragon younglings convert nourishment directly into growth. The more they eat, the larger they become. Is it not wondrous? Wondrous. Right. I look back at Pip, who's now staring at the cooler like he's planning a military assault. Murphy, what else we got in there? 2 more sandwiches, some chips, a couple energy bars, and your leftover pizza from yesterday. I hand Pip another sandwich. Gone in one bite. Now he's the size of a medium dog. The chips disappear next, followed by the energy bars. Each bite makes him visibly larger. Boss, Murphy says, his voice getting that edge it gets when he's about to predict doom. At this rate, that thing's gonna be the size of a shuttle by dinner time. Pip finishes the last sandwich and looks around hopefully. His golden eyes land on my plasma torch, and I swear I see him lick his lips. Oh no, buddy. That's not food. I grab the torch and hold it behind my back. Zara, exactly how big is this little guy gonna get? Adult dragons can reach the size of your human starships. But worry not, they only grow when properly fed. Blix is practically vibrating with excitement. This is unprecedented. A dragon accepting human food. We must document everything. The metabolic implications alone could revolutionize our understanding of interspecies nutrition. Pip makes a sound that's definitely not a chirp anymore. It's more like a tiny roar, and when he opens his mouth, I can see actual flames dancing on his tongue. He's now the size of a large dog and eyeing Murphy's tool belt with obvious interest. Right. I say, backing away slowly. Houston, we have a problem. That's when I do what any sensible foreman does when faced with an impossible situation. I call in the crew. All hands to Sector 7. We got ourselves a code dragon. Well, what now? Comes Kowalski's voice over the comm. Kowalski's our engineer. The kind of guy who thinks every problem in the universe can be solved with the right equation and enough coffee. Just get over here and bring your calculators. Within 5 minutes I've got my whole crew standing around staring at Pip, who's now the size of a pony and making increasingly demanding roaring sounds. There's Murphy with his perpetual frown, Kowalski scribbling equations on his tablet, and Diesel, our heavy machinery operator, who talks to our equipment like they're his personal friends. So let me get this straight, Kowalski says, adjusting his glasses. We need to feed this dragon enough human food to keep him satisfied. But every time we feed him he gets bigger, which means he needs more food, which makes him bigger, which creates an exponential growth pattern that's mathematically unsustainable. That's about the size of it, I say. Boss, Diesel chimes in. Betty here says she's got some spare ration packs in her cargo hold. He pats the side of our construction mech affectionately. Don't you, girl? Zara looks confused. The machine speaks. Nah, she just listens real good, Diesel explains. Like this makes perfect sense. Murphy meanwhile is staring at Pip with the expression of a man watching his own doom approach in slow motion. That thing's gonna eat the whole station, isn't it? Not if we feed him properly, I say, because that's what humans do. We don't see impossible problems, we see logistics challenges. Kowalski, what do we need? Kowalski's already running calculations. Based on current growth rate and consumption patterns, we're looking at needing approximately 4 tons of food within the next 6 hours. 4 tons. Murphy's voice cracks. Where the hell are we supposed to get 4 tons of human food? That's when I get one of those ideas that's either brilliant or completely insane. Probably both. We're gonna build a feeding operation. Come again, Murphy says. You heard me. We treat this like any other construction project. We got materials. We got equipment. We got manpower. So we build a solution. I start pacing, which is what I do when I'm thinking. Diesel, can Betty's fabricators handle food production? Well, she's got molecular assemblers that could theoretically rearrange base proteins into edible combinations, but I ain't never asked her to cook before. There's a first time for everything. Kowalski, I need you to download every human recipe database you can find. Murphy, start inventory on our emergency rations. This is insane, Murphy mutters. But he's already heading for the supply depot, because that's what good crew does. Blix is practically bouncing. Oh, this is magnificent. Humans approaching an unsolvable problem with industrial-grade solutions. The academic papers I could write. Save it for later, Blix. Right now I need you to contact the station commissary and order everything they've got. Pip, who's been watching this whole exchange, lets out a roar that rattles the deck plating. He's now the size of a small shuttle, and his golden eyes are fixed on our conversation like he understands exactly what we're planning. All right, people, I announce, falling back on 23 years of construction experience. We're gonna build the galaxy's first Dragon drive-through. Diesel, get Betty fired up and start programming those fabricators. Kowalski, I want feeding schedules, growth projections, and a complete nutritional analysis. Murphy, start converting Cargo Bay 3 into a staging area. What about me? Zara asks, looking both amazed and terrified. You just keep that little guy calm while we work. Tell him the cavalry's coming. And that's how construction site Omega became the first human installation to treat feeding a mythical space dragon like just another engineering problem. Because that's what we do. Other species look at a baby dragon and see an ancient mystery wrapped in scales and fire. Humans look at the same dragon and see a customer with specific dietary requirements and a delivery schedule. Within an hour we've got conveyor belts running, fabricators humming, and enough sandwich production capacity to feed a small army. Pip watches the whole operation with those big golden eyes, occasionally letting out what I swear sounds like an approving rumble. You know, Kowalski says, watching Diesel program the fabricators to produce hamburgers at industrial scale, I think this might actually work. Course it'll work, I say. It's just logistics. That's when the first alien observer ship shows up on our sensors, and I realize our little dragon feeding operation is about to become a galactic spectacle. The first ship to arrive belongs to the Crystalline Consortium, and let me tell you, these guys know how to make an entrance. Their vessel looks like someone took a cathedral and crossed it with a diamond, all sparkly surfaces and impossible angles that hurt your eyes if you look too long. Ambassador Quartzine materializes on our deck in a shower of glittery light, looking exactly like what you'd expect from a species made of living crystal. Tall, angular, and refracting rainbow patterns everywhere he moves. Behind him come 3 more aliens I don't recognize, but they all have that same look of scientific curiosity mixed with barely contained panic. Greetings, human Foreman, Quartzine says, his voice sounding like wind chimes in a hurricane. We have received reports of a Vorthak dragon youngling accepting sustenance from your species. This is unprecedented in recorded galactic history. I look over at Pip, who's now the size of a small building and currently being fed a steady stream of pizzas via our newly constructed conveyor system. Diesel's talking to the fabricators like they're old friends, Kowalski's monitoring growth charts on 17 different screens, and Murphy's coordinating supply deliveries with the efficiency of a man who's given up questioning reality. Yeah, well, turns out the little guy just needed regular meals, I say, wiping pizza grease off my hands. The second alien, who looks like a walking tree with too many eyes, steps forward. I am Scholar Branch Wisdom of the Verdant Alliance. Our xenobiological archives contain over 3 millennia of research on dragon dietary requirements. Every attempt at feeding has resulted in failure, often catastrophic failure. What kind of catastrophic failure? Murphy asks, because Murphy always wants to know exactly how things are gonna go wrong. The last attempt was by the stellar hegemony 700 years ago, says the third alien, a blue-scaled creature with gills that flutter nervously. They lost an entire research station when the dragon youngling consumed it in a hunger-induced frenzy. Huh, I say, watching Pip contentedly munch his way through what has to be his 40th pizza of the hour. Well, that's not happening here. Quartzine's crystalline features somehow manage to look skeptical. Forgive our doubt, but dragon feeding has been considered impossible by every major galactic civilization. What technology do you employ? I gesture toward our operation. Diesel's got 3 fabricators running simultaneously, producing a steady stream of burgers, fries, sandwiches, and what appears to be spaghetti. Kowalski's calculated optimal feeding intervals down to the second, and Murphy's somehow convinced the station commissary to deliver their entire inventory via automated cargo pods. Technology. I scratch my head. Well, we got Betty over there making food, some basic conveyor systems, and a really good supply chain management protocol. The fourth alien observer, who just teleported in and looks like someone crossed an octopus with a disco ball, starts making rapid clicking sounds. Impossible. We are witnessing a Class 7 impossibility. No known technology can satisfy dragon metabolism. It's not about technology, Kowalski says, not looking up from his calculations. It's about consistency and proper nutrition. Look at these metabolic readings. He turns his tablet around, showing charts that would make a nutritionist weep with joy. Regular feeding intervals prevent the hunger-induced growth spurts that lead to catastrophic consumption behaviors. Balanced nutrition ensures proper development without the desperate feeding frenzies your species probably encountered. Blix bounces over, practically vibrating with excitement. The humans have solved the mystery through simple application of industrial food service principles. It is so obvious, yet so brilliant. Zara, who's been watching this exchange with growing amazement, speaks up. The ancient texts spoke of human wisdom, but I confess I expected something more mystical. Lady, there's nothing mystical about making sure someone gets their 3 squares a day, I tell her. Your boy there just needed a proper meal schedule. Pip, as if on cue, lets out a satisfied burp that produces a small rainbow of flame. He's now the size of a cargo shuttle, but instead of looking around hungrily for more things to eat, he's settling down for what appears to be a contented nap. By the 7 suns, whispers Scholar Branch Wisdom, the youngling appears satisfied. Yeah, funny how that works when you actually feed someone properly. Murphy says dryly. More ships are arriving now. I can see them on our sensors, dozens of vessels from across known space, all coming to witness the impossible sight of humans successfully feeding a dragon. The comm channels are lighting up with requests for permission to observe, offers to purchase our technology, and at least 3 marriage proposals for various crew members. Ambassador Quartzine approaches me with something that might be reverence. Human Foreman, your species has accomplished in mere hours what our greatest minds have failed to achieve in millennia. How do you explain this? I look around at my crew, Diesel still chatting with Betty while she produces another batch of sandwiches. Kowalski's already working on optimization algorithms for tomorrow's feeding schedule. Murphy's converted an entire cargo bay into a dragon-friendly dining area, complete with proper ventilation for the flame burps. Simple, I say. We didn't try to solve the mystery of dragon feeding, we just treated it like what it is, a logistics problem with a really big customer. That's when everything goes sideways. Because apparently the universe has a sense of humor and perfect timing is part of the cosmic joke. Pipe wakes up from his nap looking about 3 times bigger than when he went to sleep. Now we're talking cargo freighter sized, with scales that shimmer like green metal and eyes the size of dinner plates. But more importantly, he's looking around with that expression I've learned to dread, the I could eat a horse and coincidentally everything else look. Jake? Kowalski's voice has that edge that means his calculations just went out the window. We might have a problem. His growth rate just accelerated exponentially. According to these readings, he's about to hit what I can only describe as a metabolic supernova. Pipe lets out a roar that rattles every piece of equipment on the deck and makes the alien observers take several large steps backward. This isn't the cute little chirping from before. This is the sound of something that could probably eat a moon if it got hungry enough. How much food are we talking? I ask, though I'm pretty sure I don't want to know the answer. Based on current metabolic demands, approximately 50 tons in the next hour, escalating to 200 tons by the end of the cycle. The alien observers start making sounds that I'm pretty sure translate to various forms of panic across multiple species. Ambassador Quartzine's crystalline form actually starts flickering like a broken light. Impossible, shouts the octopus disco ball alien. At those consumption levels, the youngling will enter catastrophic hunger mode. It will devour everything within a parsec. Scholar Branch Wisdom's branches are rustling with what I assume is tree person terror. The research station that was consumed. This is exactly how it began. Now hold on, I say, because panic is not productive, and I've got a construction crew that's seen worse. Well, okay, maybe not worse, but definitely weirder. Murphy, how much food do we have in reserve? Murphy checks his tablet, and his face goes through about 17 different expressions, none of them optimistic. Boss, even if we stripped every food synthesizer on this station and the 3 cargo haulers in docking bay, we might get 30 tons. Maybe. Pipe turns those massive golden eyes toward our fabrication setup and makes a sound that's somehow both pathetic and terrifying. It's the sound of something that's really, really hungry and looking at what might as well be a snack-sized appetizer. Right, I say, and I can feel that familiar sensation of a simple problem turning into an engineering challenge. Time to scale up operations. Scale up, Quartzine's voice cracks like breaking glass. How does one scale up to feed a dragon entering metabolic cascade? I look around at my crew. Diesel's already patting Betty's hull and whispering sweet nothings about increased production capacity. Kowalski's got that look he gets when he's about to suggest something that's either brilliant or completely insane. Murphy's calculating failure rates in his head, but he's still standing here, which means he hasn't given up yet. We're gonna convert the entire commissary operation into a dragon feeding assembly line, I announce. Diesel, I need you to network Betty with every fabricator on this station. Kowalski, patch into the hydroponics bays and reroute everything for food production. Murphy, coordinate with the cargo haulers to bring in every food synthesizer they've got. Boss, Murphy says slowly, you're talking about converting a space station into a restaurant. Damn right I am. The next hour is pure controlled chaos, and I've never been prouder of a construction crew in my life. Diesel doesn't just network the fabricators, he turns them into the galaxy's most efficient food production line. We've got conveyor belts running through 3 decks, automated pizza ovens working around the clock, and sandwich assembly systems that would make a fast food corporation weep with envy. Kowalski patches into not just our hydroponics, but coordinates with every agricultural ship in the system. Within 20 minutes, we've got fresh vegetables being delivered by automated cargo pods every 30 seconds. He's calculated optimal nutrition ratios, meal timing, and even figured out that Pip prefers his burgers medium rare. Murphy, meanwhile, has turned the main cargo bay into what can only be described as a dragon dining hall. We've got proper ventilation for the flame burps, reinforced flooring for the weight, and even mood lighting because apparently dragons appreciate ambiance. The alien observers are beside themselves. They're recording everything, taking measurements, and I'm pretty sure at least 3 of them are crying tears of joy. Or terror, maybe both. This is unprecedented. Scholar Branch Wisdom keeps repeating. A space station converted to feed a single organism. The logistics alone should be impossible. Nothing's impossible, I tell him, watching Diesel coordinate 17 different fabricators like he's conducting an orchestra. You just need the right crew and enough coffee. Pip, bless his scaly heart, seems to appreciate the effort. He's positioned himself at the main feeding station, and every time a new batch of food comes down the line, he makes this satisfied rumbling sound that actually sounds like appreciation. His growth rate stabilizes, the panic in his eyes fades, and he settles into what can only be described as contented munching. By the eternal crystals, Quartzine whispers, they have actually done it. They have fed a dragon in metabolic cascade. Course we did, I say, wiping sweat and pizza sauce off my forehead. It's just catering, really big catering. Pip finishes his current batch of food, lets out a satisfied burp that produces enough flame to light up the entire deck, and then does something that makes every alien observer go completely silent. He curls up, closes his massive golden eyes, and falls asleep with what I swear is a smile on his dragon face. The silence that follows is the kind of silence you get when the impossible just happened and nobody's quite sure how to process it. Pipe's snoring now, these deep contented rumbles that vibrate through the deck plating, occasionally punctuated by little puffs of rainbow flame that smell oddly like barbecue sauce. Zara breaks the silence first, and when she speaks, her voice is thick with emotion. In 3,000 years of Vorthak history, she says, her 4 hands pressed to her heart, no dragon youngling has ever achieved peaceful satiation. They feed until they consume everything, or they starve in desperate hunger. Never this. She approaches Pip's massive sleeping form, and I swear there are tears in her violet eyes. My precious one, you are fed, you are content, you are safe. She turns to me and suddenly I've got 7 feet of grateful alien mother giving me a hug that could probably crack ribs. Human Jake Morrison, you have given me my child's life. Ha, it was nothing, I say, trying to extract myself from what feels like being hugged by a very emotional grape-scented octopus. Just doing my job. That's when Ambassador Quartzine steps forward, and his crystalline form is actually glowing brighter than before. Human Foreman, what you have accomplished this day will echo through the halls of galactic history. The Crystalline Consortium formally requests the specifications for your dragon-feeding technology. Technology. I look around at our setup. Betty's still humming contentedly, the conveyor systems are powered down but ready for the next meal cycle, and Murphy's already calculating tomorrow's food requirements. It's a bunch of food synthesizers and some conveyor belts. But the methodology, Scholar Branch Wisdom's branches are practically quivering with excitement. The systematic approach. The industrial scaling. The precision of nutritional timing. This is revolutionary science. Kowalski looks up from his calculations with that slightly glazed expression he gets when he's been doing math for too long. Actually, it's just basic food service management with some logistics optimization. Any decent restaurant chain could implement the same principles. The octopus disco ball alien starts making rapid clicking sounds again. Impossible. If the solution was so simple, why has no civilization discovered it in 3 millennia? Because I say, and this is the moment I realize what's really been happening here, you were all trying to solve the wrong problem. The alien observers lean in closer, and I can practically feel the weight of galactic attention focused on construction site Omega. You saw a mythical space dragon that needed feeding, so you tried to find some mystical ancient magical solution. You studied dragon lore, analyzed their spiritual significance, probably consulted oracles and ancient texts, and spent decades debating the cosmic implications of dragon nutrition. Quartzine's glow dims slightly. The archives do contain extensive philosophical treatises on the nature of dragon sustenance. Right. Meanwhile, we saw a kid who was hungry and needed regular meals, so we set up a cafeteria. The silence that follows this statement is so profound I can hear Pip's digestive system working. It sounds like a very contented freight engine. Blix breaks the silence by literally jumping up and down. It is the most beautiful example of human pragmatism I have ever witnessed. While other species pondered the mysteries of the universe, humans simply fed the dragon. Speaking of which, Murphy says, because Murphy's always thinking 3 steps ahead, we're gonna need to set up regular supply runs. That's a big boy, and big boys need big meals. Diesel pats Betty's hull affectionately. Don't worry, girl, we'll get you some more fabricator friends. You did good today. More ships are arriving by the hour. I can see them through the observation windows. Vessels from every corner of known space coming to witness the miracle of humans successfully feeding a dragon. The comm channels are overloaded with requests for interviews, offers to buy our secrets, and what appears to be at least 17 different alien species wanting to hire us for their own impossible problems. You know what the really incredible part is? I say, watching Pip sleep peacefully while alien dignitaries take measurements and record everything for posterity. Tomorrow, we're gonna do it again. And the day after that. Because that's what you do when someone's hungry. You feed them. Zara approaches me one more time, and her formal alien speech has been replaced by something much more genuine. Jake Morrison of the humans, how can the Vorthak people ever repay this debt? I look around at my crew. Kowalski's already designing improved feeding systems for next week. Diesel's programming Betty to handle larger production loads. Murphy's coordinating with suppliers across 3-star systems, and Blix is documenting everything with the enthusiasm of someone who's discovered the meaning of life in a ham sandwich. Tell you what, I say, pulling out one of my business cards and adding a new line with my pen. You ever got any other impossible problems that need solving, you give us a call. I hand her the card, which now reads Jake Morrison, construction foreman and dragon feeding specialist. As the sun sets over construction site Omega, casting long shadows across our improvised dragon dining facility, I realize something that's gonna stick with me for the rest of my career. Sometimes the most incredible solutions are also the most obvious ones. You just gotta be willing to treat the impossible like it's just another Tuesday. And if that's not humanity in a nutshell, I don't know what is.